George Christie, a figure deeply associated with the Hells Angels, built his formidable reputation through sharp leadership, fearless challenges, and an unwavering loyalty to his fellow members. While many resorted to senseless violence, Christie approached conflict like a strategist, recognizing the power of calculated aggression. He orchestrated key confrontations with rival gangs and evaded law enforcement for years, leaving behind a legacy marked by both fear and admiration. His rise within the notorious outlaw organization was shaped by ruthless decisions, earning him a place among the most feared Hells Angels in history. George Christie Jr., known as Dirty George, was part of the world's largest and most infamous motorcycle club. Founded in California in 1969, and now boasting over 60,000 members in more than 500 chapters across 61 countries. As president of the Ventura, California charter, Christie played a crucial role in managing the club and in numerous interviews shared his experiences and the consequences of his actions. Born on April 26, 1947 in Ventura, California, Christie grew up in nearby Sparta in a traditional Greek-American household. His grandparents were immigrants from Greece, and his upbringing was steeped in religious and cultural traditions. An only child, he was heavily influenced by his home environment and a strong sense of national identity. Christie struggled in school due to dyslexia, often feeling like an outsider, but his life began to change when he discovered surfing as a teenager. In the mid-1950s, Christie had his first encounter with an outlaw motorcyclist, a moment that left a lasting impression. While eating dinner with his parents, he noticed a man on a motorcycle pull up at a red light, the roar of the engine drawing everyone's attention. The way the biker carried himself and how others, including Christie's own father, reacted to him, sparked a desire for adventure and a sense of belonging. Surfing introduced Christie to a community of rebellious, like-minded individuals, some of whom eventually rode motorcycles and introduced him to the outlaw biker world. Preferring independence over team sports or family gatherings, Christie found in this subculture the acceptance he had long sought. After high school, Christie joined the Marines, but his military career was short-lived. He clashed with a gunnery sergeant, challenging him to a rifle competition, a dispute that escalated to a court-martial. Before being sent to Vietnam, Christie was reassigned to work with Navy intelligence officers and later joined the Department of Defense, specializing in communications and Cold War submarine surveillance. By 1978, however, Christie faced a life-altering choice. The Department of Defense discovered he was leading the Los Angeles Hells Angels chapter and informed him he could not keep both his security clearance and his club membership. Choosing loyalty to the Hells Angels over a secure government career, Christie committed fully to the outlaw life. As president of the Ventura charter for nearly 3 decades, Christie became one of the club's longest-serving leaders. His role required strategic thinking, political skill, and the ability to navigate both internal and external power struggles. He maintained the Ventura chapter's loyalty and organization while engaging in the broader international Hells Angels network, strengthening the club's image as a global brotherhood. However, Christie's position brought constant attention from law enforcement and rival gangs. He was often accused of violent acts typical of outlaw motorcycle clubs, such as clashes with the Mongols or the Outlaws, though he claimed to prefer diplomacy and viewed violence as a last resort. Critics argued that this was an attempt to soften his image, pointing to his involvement in numerous violent confrontations. Christie's long tenure was also marked by serious legal troubles. Allegations against him included drug trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, and other major offenses. In 2001, he faced federal conspiracy to commit murder charges in connection with an internal club dispute, but was acquitted, seen by some as proof of his cunning and by others as a failure of justice. A decade later, in 2011, Christie was accused of orchestrating arson attacks against 2 tattoo parlors in Ventura that refused to align with the Hells Angels. Prosecutors claimed the plan was meant to punish the owners for resisting the club's control over local biker-related businesses. Although the charges were reduced, Christie served a year in federal prison, a turning point in his life. Prison became a time of deep self-reflection. Christie began questioning his place in the Hells Angels and the values he had lived by for decades. The experience marked the beginning of a personal transformation, forcing him to confront the consequences of a life spent balancing on the edge of legality. George Christie's brief time in federal prison proved to be a turning point. The solitude gave him space to step away from the chaos of his former life and reflect on his past decisions. During this period, he began questioning the long-held ideals of brotherhood, loyalty, and the outlaw lifestyle that had defined him for decades. Christie came to believe that the loyalty he had shown the Hells Angels was not always returned. Upon his release, he was no longer the same fervent outlaw. Prison had made him more introspective and philosophical, and he began to envision a future outside the biker world. The principles of loyalty, rebellion, and camaraderie, once his guiding lights, no longer held the same clarity. In their place emerged a desire for personal redemption and a life free from the constant threat of legal trouble and violence. In 2011, after decades as a prominent figure, Christie's decision to leave the Hells Angels shocked many members. Exiting the club was no small matter. Such a move is often seen as betrayal, and those who leave are frequently met with suspicion or hostility. Christie explained that his departure was driven by a wish to escape the cycle of criminality and danger. Yet many within the club viewed it as weakness or treachery, believing that membership was a lifelong commitment. The exact details of his departure remain unclear. Some sources claim he was forced out due to disputes with other high-ranking members. Others say he left of his own accord. Regardless, the moment marked a pivotal shift in Hells Angels history, adding further complexity to Christie's legacy. After leaving, Christie reinvented himself as an author and public speaker. His autobiography, Exile on Front Street, offers a candid account of his life inside the Hells Angels, his rise to leadership, and the factors that led to his exit. He also became involved in media projects, including the television series Outlaw Chronicles Hells Angels, where he appeared as both narrator and on-screen personality. Through these ventures, he sought to present himself as a reformed man willing to openly discuss the darker chapters of his past. However, his life after the club has not been without controversy. Despite distancing himself from the Hells Angels, Christie remains a polarizing figure. Some former members accuse him of using his past to build a personal brand, while others believe he betrayed those who once stood by him. One of the most contentious aspects of Christie's post-club life is his decision to break the Hells Angels' strict code of silence. Outlaw motorcycle clubs have long adhered to a rule that members never reveal internal matters to outsiders. Christie shattered this code by writing a tell-all book and participating in media projects that exposed the club's inner workings. To many in the biker community, this was a betrayal, damaging the club's reputation and potentially endangering its members. This act sparked debate about his motives. Christie insists his aim is to expose the realities of outlaw motorcycle life and warn others against the dangers of the lifestyle. He positions his story as a cautionary tale, hoping to dispel the myths that glamorize the Hells Angels. Critics, however, argue that his true motivation is financial gain, pointing to the profits he has made through books, TV appearances, and public events. Supporters say his openness helps humanize club members, showing that behind the violence and criminal acts are complex individuals with personal struggles. Detractors maintain that he has exploited the club's name to further his own career. Regardless of opinion, there is no denying that Christie has had a lasting impact on how outlaw motorcycle clubs are viewed. His willingness to speak openly has brought the once secretive world of the Hells Angels into the public eye. For some, this has stripped away the club's mystique. For others, it has provided a rare, honest glimpse into its inner life. George Christie's story remains one of contradictions, loyalty and betrayal, violence and diplomacy, rebellion and redemption, whether remembered as the most ruthless Hell's Angel or as a leader who tried to navigate the outlaw world with strategy and restraint, will depend on the storyteller. What is certain is that his name will continue to provoke debate for years to come.